For decades, it was called a miracle material, fireproof, cheap, indestructible. It was put into homes, schools, hospitals, ships, even baby powder. And then the truth came out. Asbestos has killed millions, and it's still legally used in parts of the world today. So what exactly is asbestos? Who allowed it? When did we know it was deadly? Where is it still hiding? And why did it take so long to stop? This is the story of asbestos through the 5 W's. Asbestos isn't a single material. It's a group of naturally occurring minerals made up of microscopic fibers. These fibers are heat-resistant, chemically stable, and incredibly strong, which made asbestos seem perfect for industrial use. Not all asbestos is created equal. In fact, it's divided into 2 distinct families based entirely on the shape of their microscopic fibers. First up is serpentine asbestos, commonly known as white asbestos. This was the industry favorite, making up over 90% of all asbestos used globally. Then we have the Amphibole family, which includes brown and blue asbestos. Unlike the curly stuff, these fibers are straight, brittle, and shaped like microscopic needles. The problem? When disturbed, asbestos breaks into those tiny fibers, invisible to the human eye. Once inhaled, those fibers lodge inside the lungs, and they don't come out. Asbestos exposure can cause cancer, like mesothelioma and lung cancer, ovarian cancer and laryngeal cancer. Additionally, it can cause benign lung diseases including asbestosis, fluid buildup, effusions, pleural plaques, and pleural thickening. Even if a disease is non-cancerous, it can still become life-threatening if left untreated. Mesothelioma, although rare out of all the cancers, is particularly aggressive. It can take 20 to 50 years after exposure to appear. By the time symptoms begin, it's often too late. The asbestos industry was massive. By the early 20th century, companies were mining and selling asbestos worldwide.
Have you two decided what material to use on the outside walls? It was natural that the scientists would turn to asbestos, for this is a remarkable mineral. Actually stone, it is made up of tiny but extremely strong and flexible fibers. Combined with Portland cement, these fibers act as a reinforcing agent, just as steel rods are used to reinforce concrete. Being stone, asbestos will not burn. In fact, it is best known for its use in all fields of fire protection. And too, the great success of asbestos, combined with Portland cement in the roofing field, made it a natural choice in research for a better siding. So, from long testing and experiment, there came asbestos cement siding. Strong and tough, it could be handled and applied like ordinary shingles. What has been your experience with these asbestos cement sidewalls?
Well, we've been very pleased. Joe, that's my husband, got an FHA loan to have the job done. He figures that what we've saved by not having to paint the walls every few years has more than paid for the new siding.
Internal documents later revealed something disturbing. Some corporations knew about the health risks as early as the 1930s, yet production continued. Workers were rarely warned. Protective equipment was minimal. Advertising campaigns promoted asbestos as safe, modern, even futuristic. Meanwhile, miners, factory workers, shipbuilders, and construction workers were being exposed daily. Entire communities near asbestos mines developed unusually high cancer rates. The tragedy wasn't just industrial, it became personal. Family members were exposed through dust carried home on clothing. Children grew up breathing fibers embedded in walls and insulation. The first recorded asbestos-related death dates back to the early 1900s. An unnamed 33-year-old London factory worker became the first recorded casualty after an autopsy revealed his lungs were severely scarred by microscopic fibers. But it wasn't until 1924, following the tragic death of another factory worker named Nellie Kershaw, that doctors officially published their findings and finally gave this deadly disease a name: asbestosis. In the 1960s, researchers firmly linked asbestos to mesothelioma. By the 1970s, the scientific evidence was overwhelming, yet bans were slow. Some countries began restricting use in the 1980s and 1990s. Others continued production. Even today, although it may be regulated, asbestos remains legal and is still used, mined, or imported in several countries, most notably Russia, China, India, Brazil, Kazakhstan, Indonesia, and the United States. Many people assume asbestos is a thing of the past. It isn't. Asbestos still exists in millions of buildings worldwide. It can be found in insulation roofing, shingles, floor tiles, cement products, pipe wrapping, and fireproofing materials. If undisturbed, asbestos can remain relatively contained, but during renovation or demolition, fibers can become airborne. Globally, some countries still mine and export asbestos today. That means new asbestos products are still entering markets in certain regions. Even in countries with bans, legacy asbestos remains in aging infrastructure. The danger hasn't disappeared, it has simply aged. Why would something so dangerous remain in use for so long? The answer lies in a combination of factors: economic value, industrial dependence, scientific uncertainty in early years, and corporate influence. Asbestos was cheap and effective. Industries relied on it for fireproofing and insulation. Replacing it meant re-engineering entire systems. And then there was doubt. Early industry-funded studies often downplayed risks. Regulatory agencies moved cautiously. Meanwhile, diseases with 30-year latency periods made cause and effect harder to prove in court.
You might not know it, but homes built or renovated before 1987 may contain asbestos, often in places you'd never expect. Behind bathroom tiles, under vinyl floor coverings and carpets, in corrugated roofing, in cement sheeting. So if you're renovating or doing a bit of DIY and you don't know the risks, you could be taking your life or your family's lives into your own hands. Are you playing renovation roulette?
By the time definitive evidence reached the public, millions had already been exposed. The story of asbestos isn't just about a mineral. It's about the gap between knowledge and action. Today, asbestos-related diseases still claim over 200,000 lives globally each year. Many of those exposed decades ago are only now being diagnosed.
He just said, you've been exposed to asbestos, unfortunately it's incurable.
Rose has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, an asbestos-related cancer with a 2% survival rate.
My first thought was, gosh, I'm too young to die, because they said it was incurable. And obviously, I was scared as how I could explain this to my daughters, my two daughters.
For generations, asbestos was commonly used in buildings up to 1999.
I did know of asbestos, but I didn't feel threatened by it was threatening me, because I didn't even know much about it, really.
Did you ever think it would be the kind of illness that you could ever get, or someone like you could ever get?
Absolutely not. Never. Never crossed my mind at all.
Although banned for over 20 years, asbestos is still causing a shocking number of mortalities.
There are over 5,000 asbestos-related deaths per year in the UK, and it's estimated that around 300,000 non-domestic buildings contain some form of asbestos, including schools, community centres and hospitals, and up to 1 million domestic premises.
The full impact of asbestos may never be known. It reshaped labour laws. It transformed environmental regulation. It became one of the largest waves of litigation in history. But it also left behind a lesson. Technological progress without precaution can have consequences that last generations. Asbestos was once called a miracle. Now, It stands as a warning. If you found this video valuable, please like, comment, or consider subscribing for more deep dives on the 5 Ws.